Hello and welcome to another random amateurs in the bag featuring my two dogs and myself. Let's get into it. So, a couple of background things for start. First of all, the bag itself, the end of a bag, isn't my main bag. It's kind of complicated, which the discs are all the right ones, but the bag is usually the Prodigy BP1 V3, the red one that is, I have a video review of it in my channel, so go check that out if you haven't seen it. Let's see, oh yeah, other background information. So I'm a mostly backhand dominant player, and if I had to give myself a rating, it'd probably be in the 920-ish range. I was 914 rated about 2 years ago, so I don't know if 920-ish is being humble or whatever, but just for an idea. And for a typical drive, if I'm throwing something flat and having it just go straight and fade, a controlled golf line, my distances are probably around 380 on the backhand and probably close to 330 on the forehand. So yep, let's get into it. Oh, and one last thing is I've been playing for about 4 years, if that helps.
Hey, editor AJ here. One last thing, sorry. I'm gonna put flight numbers probably in the top left, but those are gonna be the manufacturer's flight numbers for each disc. Just because those are the numbers for each disc doesn't mean that's how they fly for me. It could, I could have a more overstable run, or I could have it beat up to be more understable. Just wanted to let you know that. All right, now let's finally get into the putters.
First we'll do the putters slash throwing putters slash approach discs. But the putting putters, I made a switch recently. I used to putt with the Discmania Flex 2 Discmania made P2s, which I like those a lot, but I'm now switching to something faster and more shallow, and that's the Eldritch from Remix Discs. For those who don't know, Remix is the brand you can buy off Amazon for really cheap, which it's also the factory seconds for Thought Space Last Mint, which is also made by MVP. I know the sentence might sound a little bit confusing. The Eldritch is basically the Mint Bullet slash the Thought Space Praxis slash the Love from Gesture Discs, which is it's a fast and shallow 3-speed putter. And I like it because I can put it basically just flat right at my target, the basket, and just have it go straight and hopefully hit chains, compared to the P2 where I had to put a little more on it and put a little right to the basket to rely on a fade. And now that I used to hook my putts to the right, and the overstability of the P2 was nice, but now that I fixed that problem and I'm now on target, I can now just putt straight and reliably with the Remix Disc Eldritch. Now for the throwing slash approach putters, which I kind of just loop in. I kind of just like wrap them all together into their own category. I have 4. I'll go from understable to overstable. So we'll start with my favorite disc, my oldest disc I own. This is the disc that started it all. It's the Discraft Magnet in the Pro D plastic. This thing is, oops, this thing is so beat up, oh my gosh, that it doesn't even have a bead anymore. I'll probably get a profile shot hopefully on camera. But again, this is like this is my understable throwing putter. If you play Ultimate, this is basically like an Ultra Star, where you can just put it on hyzer. If I hit it hard, have it either flip up or even turn. And this is a magical disc in the woods, tons of glide. And being someone that plays both Ultimate and disc golf on the regular, having a disc that flies like an Ultra Star or Ultimate Frisbee is just nice to have the familiarity. So love that disc, love this disc, favorite disc in my bag. Discraft Magnet in the Pro D plastic. Definitely a unique disc. Next is my straight-ish throwing putter. So, well, a lot of people will have like throwing putters and then they'll have their approach discs. This disc kind of does both. It kind of bridges that gap, and that's a beat up Exo Soft tactic. And for me, it's my straight throwing putter. I can throw it straight and it'll go straight and maybe a tiny bit of fade, but very little. I love this disc because it can handle whatever spin. It can handle both spins. I love putting this on forehand if I need something to go just dead straight. Kind of how a lot of like people have their beat up zone. This is kind of like my version of that. My favorite shot to do with this is a forehand anhyzer that just holds the whole way and flattens out right at the end for those if I'm pitched off in the woods and I need to step out. Next is my overstable backhand throwing putter. Another P2, but this is an Innova-made S-line P2 from Sabatis Disc Golf with a half, I don't know, decent die jog, if you can hopefully see that spinning there. Oops. So this is glidey and overstable. If I have a hole that's like 270, 280, give or take, and I just want to hit a putter hard, I can put it flat to the right of my target. It'll glide for a while, but then have a really reliable, consistent fade left. And then my zone, if you will, is a Razor Claw 3 Meta Tactic. Complements the white tactic really well. Again, it's nothing special besides, you know, being Tour Series disc, but in terms of flight, it's nothing special. It's basically just your regular Z zone. You know, put it on hyzer on a forehand for that, you know, approach. But a flight path I also like with this because I can put it flat on a forehand and it'll actually hold straight for a bit before it's, you know, dependable fade. So, all right, next lineup of discs are my mid ranges. Let's take the this out. So again, we'll start from understable to overstable. The newest mid-range in my bag is the new James Conrad Detour, that came out of the Jarapalooza boxes this year. Right now, it's basically just the Detour is basically like whatever angle you put it on, at least on backhand, it'll basically do that. So if you do put on anhyzer, yes, it will act understable and hold the anhyzer, but if you put it flat, it'll just go like dead straight. And hyzer might flip up the flat, but it might have a little hyzer finish at the end. So when this heats up, it's gonna be awesome. The James Conrad Neutron Detour. Next is my sort of like go-to mid-range, my buzz kind of slot, if you will, and that's a fission reactor. This is actually a lightweight fission reactor at 165. I wanted like a dead straight mid, but this ended up being overstable. Right now, what this does for me is it'll just carry straight for me with a little bit of hookup at the end, like, you know, your traditional go-to mid-range should. What I really like about the reactor in general is that I can hold it a lot of different ways. I can hold it with my fan grip, my power grip if I want to put a little more on it, and if I do want to forehand a reactor, we can also forehand grip it as well. My next is my overstable mid-range, this Eclipse reactor. Overstable, but not like so overstable that doesn't really glide a lot. Again, pinch grip, power grip, but I usually use this for forehands for something that goes further than my Eagle McMahon tactic. So nice and overstable and dependable. And last mid-range is my super beef utility mid-range, my favorite feeling mid-range of all time, and that is the MVP Deflector. This is a 2023 OTB Open Soft Proton Edition. Just if you can look at the flexibility of the soft proton plastic, might be my favorite plastic blend from MVP. But this is an absolute hog, super beefy. I could power grip this four-handed, just super anhyzer, and will just, you know, come out of it, even skip every time, so overstable. Or I can put this, you know, really high into the air on a vertical angle, and it'll just sit or even bounce sometimes because of the softness of the plastic, but it usually sticks. So it's nice having a disc that can either skip or stick depending on how you throw the approach. And that's it for my mid-ranges. All right, next is one of my favorite parts of my bag, which are my fairway drivers. I carry 5 fairways, and I'm gonna start with my favorite go-to fairway that I've ever thrown. I have 3 of them in the bag, and that is the Axiom Crave. So we'll start again, understable to overstable. My most understable Crave is a Jarapalooza Skullboy. I think this is R2 Neutron with the Eclipse rim. A bit of an more understable run of Crave, so if you're looking for a flip-up Crave, I would go with this guy. This is a nice 170 gram, so beautiful weight. The only thing I don't love about it is that it's black and I could lose it in the woods, but for now, right now, it's my understable fairway. So hyzer, flip up, flat, turnover, beautiful disc. This thing also bombs. Next is my Proton Crave max weight, 172. Think of this as like a C-Line FD from Discmania. That's probably the closest comparison I can make. I can just put this flat, it'll go straight for a long time, a little bit of fade, just a little though. And if I put on anhyzer, it'll hold the anhyzer and flatten out maybe. Yeah, just hold out the anhyzer and flatten out. The Crave is just such a good disc in like a long-wooded par 4. The Crave just makes those long, treacherous par 4s pretty easy. And then lastly, my Cosmic Neutron Crave, again, max weight. I think this is like 173, 174 roughly. My most overstable Crave. If you want an overstable Crave, get a Cosmic Neutron for sure. Flat, go straight for a little bit, then a considerable fade. It can hold it can fight out of an anhyzer at the very end. Not like an overstable, like Thunderbird, Firebird type disc, but a really nice, just long, but somewhat accurate, pretty accurate actually, fairway driver. Absolutely love the Crave. Next is a disc that needs to go far, but also needs to be really accurate. For me, that disc is the Vulture. This is a 2022 Ledgestone TI Swirl Vulture. This run of Vultures is a little more overstable than like your traditional Z or Big C Vulture. I like this for backhand flex shots, forehand flex shots. Not super overstable to the point where it's like really trying to fight out, but it will come out of that anhyzer you may put on it, or just controlled hyzers, spike hyzers. Love the Vulture. Such a versatile fairway driver, or control driver, whatever you want to call it. And for my last fairway driver, we have the MVP Resistor in the Neutron plastic. Overstable and controllable and workable. And it handles my forehand torque more, or off-axis torque than I might put on a forehand. Super reliable, really nice. The wind doesn't affect it at all. And a really comfortable, smaller feeling fairway driver. And that'll be all for my fairways. Okay, lastly, but not least in terms of distance, but actually least in terms of count or amount, I have my distance drivers, the big boys, if you will. I have four distance drivers, but only 2 molds. And you'll see a lot of disc golfers, they'll do this, especially in of the heads, they'll do this sort of thing where they go, oh, I throw Wraiths and Destroyers. Well, instead of Wraiths and Destroyers, I go with Trespasses and Emperors. We'll start with the Trespasses because I've been going least to most overstable, and the Trespasses are less overstable than the Emperors. So we'll start with the oldest distance driver of the bunch. This is just a stock Blue Sid Trespass. It's actually a lighter weight at 169 grams. This is an absolute bomber for me, especially in a tailwind. Anything long and understable, I go to this Trespass. Hyzer flip the turn, flat the turn, or I can put on anhyzer and again let it roll. This has been in my bag for well over 2 years, and I don't see it leaving anytime soon. Okay, for my next distance driver, I have my straight distance driver is the Supreme Trespass that I picked up. I can hit it flat, it'll give me some turn, but it'll fade back to a straight line. Again, if I have a long, straight wood shot that I want to start flat, this usually gets the call. Or an anhyzer to hold it, but flatten out. It's just a bomber. Love the Trespass. For a straight bomber distance driver, Supreme Trespass. An X out, I blend, Emperor. You can just hear and probably see that dome, man. Overstable, but still goes really far and has just so much glide. I love the Emperor, but overstable, bomber. If I have wind, but I still need something to go really far, this I-Blend Emperor gets the call. Buster C-Blend Emperor. This is the first Emperor I got. Domey, but not quite as domey as the I-Blend, if you can hopefully see. Again, overstable, glidey, still goes far, nothing really much to it. And that is it for my discs, my in the bag, if you will. Really hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. If you have any criticism or you want to tell me about your favorite molds in your bag, leave a comment down below.